Hi, I'm Kathy McAnally, and I'm coming to you from Bixby, Oklahoma. I have an Etsy shop called RNR Woven Treasures. And I'd like to talk to you tonight about a new rep weave rug I've made. And I made it by converting a pattern that was in a different weave structure. It was an overshot. It was a 4-shaft overshot, and I converted it to an 8-shaft rep weave rug. And I really like the result. I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see the result. And you can also see my Tootsie Roll over here on the side. She's in her crate. It's bedtime for her, so she's gone to bed. Okay. So here's my rug. Now, one of the reasons why I really like these kind of rugs is because, first of all, being cotton, they are washable. And Tootsie Roll there, she loves to go out in the pond and chase bumpers. She's a chocolate lab, and she loves to retrieve. So she's going to come in, and she's going to be wet, and, you know, just, she's going to be dirty. I also have a farm, so I have a lot of people coming in, getting a drink of water out of the kitchen sink, and this is my kitchen sink rug. And they're all you know, coming in from the barn, and they've got stuff on their feet. So, you know, this sees a lot of traffic, and it also sees a lot of dirt. So I like to be able to throw it in the washer, and I love the rep weave is a little thicker structure. It's a thicker one, and so it's a little sturdier. It's got a lot of good. It's thick. It's got a lot of good structure to it. So I like rep weave. It's my favorite. So let me show you the pattern. Okay, on this pattern, to convert a pattern like this into rep weave, you really need to understand rep weave first. And I've got a really good video on how rep weave works. So if you're not familiar with rep weave, if you haven't ever made one before, go listen to that video first before you start converting this pattern. This pattern, I chose to put the dark threads, the dark colored threads on the odd shafts and the light colored threads on the even shafts. And if you'll notice, this pattern has 4 blocks, because it's a 4-shaft pattern. It has 4 blocks, and there's a diagonal and a V and a diagonal, and there's this little V over here. Okay, so for each of the shafts, we'll call them blocks. I have 4 blocks for this simple little rug here, and I'm going to, for each one of those, thread the first block on shafts 1 and 2. That means the dark will be on 1 and the light will be on 2, the light colored. So the dark color's on shaft 1 and the light color's on shaft 2, and I'm going to repeat that before I move on to the second block. Now, how many times I repeat that depends on how wide you want these squares to be, because these squares could end up being rectangles if you want them wider. In fact, I made mine rectangular. So I repeated them 6 times before I moved on to the next one. So I repeated this pair 6 times before I moved on to the next one, and repeated this pair 6 times before I moved on to the next one. So that's how you start off, by making your diagonals, and of course you make your V's just by going the opposite way. Okay, then you've got these smaller ones, these skinny ones. See these skinny ones right here that create those skinny lines? That skinny little V, and there's a skinny one right there. Just don't repeat them 6 times. I repeated mine twice. Okay, so that made it twice. Now, you've got your threading order all figured out. You've got the dark on odds, the light colored thread is on the evens, and you've got it repeated 6 times in my case, through most of it. For the skinnies, you got it repeated only twice. How do you do the lift plan over here? How do you convert that lift plan? You see this lift plan here is pretty simple. It just goes in a diagonal pattern. So you've got a lift for 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here's my lift plan. Each of these blocks, you're going to be lifting the dark color for the pattern. Now in rep weave, remember we put in a thick thread and then a thin thread. So you've got a thick and a thin, a thick and a thin, a thick and a thin, a thick, and a thin. Every single one of those blocks you have to do a thick and a thin, and the thick is going to show up more than the thin because it's thick. So for the thick throw, the one with the thick thread, you're going to throw a shaft, an odd numbered shaft that matches the block that you're on. So this one would be shaft 1, and then the rest of these will be evens. Okay, so the rest of those have to be even. So it's 1, 4, 6, 8. The opposite throw for the thin thread will have to be the opposite of the thick. That way you're weaving and you won't have a hole in your fabric, in your rug. So whatever's up here, you have to have an opposite down here. So for block 2, I want the second position here to be the dark thread. So that's going to be the odd one. Everything else will be evens because they want to be light. So you have one dark and evens. Here in block 3, this will be the dark, everything else will be light. In block 4, this will be dark and everything else will be light. And so you just keep on going with that. You've got, again, here, the opposite for each of the second throws, okay? So each of the second throws are going to be the opposite of your first throws. And your first throws are going to have an odd number that corresponds to the block that you're on. And so for your first group, you'll have block 1. This will be your dark. For block 2, this will be your dark. For block 3, this will be your dark, which is 5. That's shaft 5. And this will be your dark, which is shaft 7. So that's your lift plan. And again, you're just adding the thick and the thin through that. The treadling plan won't change, really. Now, the only thing you may want to change on it is how many times you depress this structure, because you're going to have to, every time you treadle, you're going to have to treadle the thick and the thin, the thick and the thin. You can't get out of that. That's what rep weave is. So do you want to do the thick and the thin and the thick and the thin twice? Do you want to repeat that twice or 3 times? I repeated mine twice the whole way out there. So if I repeat the threading 6 times and this twice, I'm going to get a nice rectangle, which is what I show on mine. So this is how we converted a pattern like this into a rep weave pattern. So if you can make a design like this, you can convert it to rep weave pretty simple. Again, let me change this position of the camera again. Hi. I teach accounting. I'm a professor of accounting at a large junior college, and one of the things I know when you're trying to learn something online is that a lot of people don't ask questions. They just don't want to ask. Please feel free to ask questions. Post your comments and stuff in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say and whether you got any good information out of this or whether you enjoyed it or not. And also, if you go to my shop, and again, that shop name is rnrwoventreasures.etsy.com, and you'll see down there a link for my Facebook group, and you can join my Facebook group and be able to see what I'm doing, and we'll chat. We can chat back and forth, and really look at all the different weave plans I've got going and all the different rugs that I've got going, and see what a hand weaver can do, because really it's quite interesting, but more interesting than debits and credits in the accounting world. So I really enjoy this. I'd like for you to look at my Etsy shop just to see what a hand weaver can do, because a hand weaver can really do a lot. And I hope you enjoyed this video and the rest of my videos, and take a look at that other one about how rep weave works. And I'll talk to you another night, but be sure and enjoy weaving. Thank you.